From Lagos, the nation's commercial capital, this is the News at 10. Live from Channels Television. Reporting tonight, Millicent Walker.
Hello and welcome. Tonight, Minister of Transportation assures Nigerians that repairs on the damaged portion of the rail tracks will commence soon as House of Representatives blast service chiefs over failure to honor summons. Travelers abandon rail transportation revert to the roads out of fear of attacks by terrorists. New Nigeria People's Party holds its national convention, says it will rescue Nigeria from the grip of the ruling political party, also promises improved security.
Lays down any hopes of a breakthrough in peace talks with Ukraine.
And on business news tonight, House of Reps uncovers more than 300 billion naira in 4 commercial banks amid ongoing investigation into 1.3 trillion naira unclaimed federal government funds.
On sports news tonight, Qatar set for Friday's World Cup finals draw as FIFA President Gianni Infantino says the tournament is an opportunity to bring people together after the COVID-19 pandemic and war in Europe.
And from the nation's capital, it's a breath of fresh air as the All Progressives Congress Caretaker Committee hands over to newly elected leadership of the party. The APC National Chairman Abdullahi Adamu promises to retain power in 2023.
And there has been more outrage trailing the deadly attack on the Kaduna-Abuja train, but this time the House of Representatives is furious over the failure of the heads of security agencies, as well as the Ministers of Aviation and Transportation, to honor an invitation to a meeting with lawmakers on the attacks. During plenary today, the Deputy Speaker of the House of Representatives, Idris Wase, questioned the rationale for the security heads to send representatives instead, describing their absence as inexcusable. The meeting was sequel to a motion to investigate the circumstances surrounding the attacks by terrorists on the Kaduna International Airport and the Kaduna-bound train from Abuja.
All the agencies, none have the respect to have one chief executive. All the agencies that have invited, none. It means then we are maybe considered to be jokers, but we are not jokers. We are not. If they are here, we'll ask pertinent questions. There are certain information that we also have. If there is synergy in operation, this thing will not happen. They should come personally. You know, we are not in any way saying, question their capacity. No, you are the people doing the work. But there are certain questions when it comes, you are not accounting. And whatever answer you give, there are limitations to it. And that is why the people who are accounting and responsible are the ones supposed to appear.
Meanwhile, the federal government says it is set to commence the repair of the damaged portion of the Abuja-Kaduna rail line, just as it considers recruiting locals for security and black spots on the line. This is according to the Minister of Transportation, Mr. Rotimi Amechi, who was speaking in Kaduna after visiting the victims of Monday's attack by terrorists. He explains that following the directive by the President to fix the rail and make it usable, the ministry has set modalities in place to commence work immediately.
The President has also approved that we should employ people who will be working on the track for the next 6-7 months, within which we should have been able to install the equipment. So we intend to employ villagers that will be working on the track. If they see if there's anything they suspect, they should let us know, so that we can let the security know and the security will move in. All these are measures we will take until we install the security equipment.
Your Excellency, sir, the President had given directive that work should commence
immediately. You can't disobey presidential orders. If you disobey, it's at your own detriment. So work will start immediately. And the military has promised us security while work. It's about between 1 and 2 kilometers of rail.
So also, should Nigerians be expecting to see rail service on Abuja, Kaduna?
I'm not an engineer. Only the engineer will tell you when they will complete the work. And you see, it depends on there are things they have to import from overseas. If all the materials are here in Nigeria, then be rest assured it will be completed quickly. Be done by Nigerians and be completed as soon as possible.
Thank you. While travellers await the resumption of train services on the Abuja-Kaduna line, road travel was in full swing today at the various motor parks in Kaduna as passengers took to the parks to board vehicles. This is despite stories of bandits' attacks on the Kaduna-Abuja highway. They, however, asked the government to deploy more security on that road.
The Rigasa train station in Igabi local government area of Kaduna State. The train station is devoid of the usual hustle and bustle following the suspension of services and aftermath on Monday's night's attack by bandits. The station is virtually empty, save for few workers and security officials on duty. With train services halted, many commuters return to road transportation, a previously dreaded alternative, also because of the insecurity along the Kaduna-Abuja highway.
I'm not scared following the road because even you at home, you are not safe. You tell me that you too you are safe, you are not safe. How are you getting me? You are not safe because everywhere now they are touching, everywhere.
At the popular Command Junction Motor Park, passengers are seen either arriving or departing from the park. The volume of commercial vehicles that load at this park since Tuesday has also increased from 30 to 45 daily, according to the park officials.
Just imagine plenty of port road. If you go to Olafan to here to Gatari, you will see different port road and different location of diversion, which is not right. Because in place of that diversion, if you match a break, you can see bandits can come out and do everything. And the security, we need more security in that road.
With the threats now associated with road and rail travel to and fro Kaduna, transport operators highlight some of the factors responsible for the heightened insecurity.
The rail is left for bandits, the road for bandits. Even here, it's not secured because we saw it on video. Kaduna airport was attacked by banditry. Why is it like that, for God's sake? And this thing is almost in Kaduna, all these things are happening. Please, we are asking the government to do something about it because it's getting out of hand.
In the past 4 years, Kaduna, just like many other states in the northwest zone, has witnessed several deadly attacks by bandits in communities along major highways and critical public institutions. It's hoped that the latest train attack will be a turning point for the total overhaul of the nation's security architecture, an increase in the deployment of security operatives along the highways.
And over in the nation's capital, the story seems not different as motor parks that cater to travellers who ply the Abuja-Kaduna route are also witnessing high passenger traffic in the wake of the train attack. Drivers as well as passengers say travelling by road is their only option as they have to go for business and see their families.
Utako Motor Park in the nation's capital is always a beehive of activities, and today is no different. Cars are seen driving in to drop off travelers or coming in from a trip. We stopped at the Abuja-Kaduna section, which has been in the news lately because of the series of attacks by bandits on the airport last Saturday, Abuja-Kaduna rail line on Monday and Tuesday, as well as pockets of attacks on communities within Kaduna State.
From Kaduna to Abuja now is
this driver says the attack on the train has driven up passenger numbers.
The accident happened in the train station. That's why you just come in accident. You understand? That's why we're getting most passengers now.
You know, you have assurance that when you follow the road, if you see the way, you know, go see them. If we want just leave our house, just pray so that we take our family to pray for us before we go follow the road and see. So they follow the road. I never even explained that country for the road. Yes, God they saved me.
The story is the same at Zuba Motor Park.
I'm prepared for this journey because I had to pray.
Drivers and passengers say they have no choice but to make the trip to and fro, optimistic of arriving safely at either end.
Regardless of everything that has been happening, one needs to leave their destination to whichever place they need to go to. The last incident, this train issue, I was 8 minutes late. I just got to the train station. This one that just happened, I just got to the train station 8 minutes. When I got there, the train just moved. Imagine that I was with those people that travel. So it's not something we want to think about. We just need to travel.
You don't have any option but to go on the route. It's optional. You don't have any option. You have to go on the route.
Our prayer to the government that they should put on the best to fight the insurgency. That's all we pray for them. I know they are doing, but they should do more so that at least we will get out of it soon as possible. And believing that one day it will be over.
Next stop is Kubwa train station, which remains deserted. Vehicles of passengers who boarded the ill-fated train remain at the station's car park. Many Nigerians who ply the Abuja-Kaduna route say they do so with uncertainty as they urge the federal government to work out modalities which will end the insecurity bedeviling the rail lines and the highways.
Meanwhile, the Nigeria Governors Forum has expressed outrage over the Abuja-Kaduna rail line attack by terrorists, saying that the nation's leaders owe the victims and their relations an apology. In a statement by its chairman and governor of Ekiti State, Dr. Kayode Fayemi, the forum maintains that the country needs to protect its national assets to prevent future acts of banditry on the rail tracks, roads, ports, and borders. While condemning the act, the NGF says the acts of violence are becoming too regular and demanded an improvement in the country's intelligence gathering mechanism. The statement reads in part, "In general, we need to give comfort to all our citizens, residents and investors that the security of lives and property cannot be taken for granted." The NGF also commended the bravery of security forces in curtailing the magnitude of havoc the attack was intended to visit on innocent citizens. Complacency and undue bureaucratic bottlenecks could be some of the factors to blame for the Kaduna train attacks. That's the position of the Senate chairman on the Army, Senator Ali Ndume. Senator Ndume, who was speaking on our program, Politics Today, wondered why the country is not taking advantage of technology to arrest insecurity.
All these things, if you look at it deeply, there is a lot of complacency in it. You have the MTN services. These people are using phone. You can track. With today's technology, people are taken away and you say you don't know where they are? No, I mean, let's be serious. And coming back to what the minister says, I get angry too. How can you put all these people every day on the average of 1,000 are moving around, and then the ministry will ask for money to buy gadgets and drones? These are mostly off-the-shelf items. You can order them, import them, or air freight them immediately and install them in 2-3 days. But you know what will happen in Nigeria now next is, they will go to TV and show that we have purchased so, and the bandits will watch it. They know where there is going to be installed. These are things that are supposed to be in place. And these are things that are not supposed to go through what they call due process. The due process is to put everything that will secure the life of people.
And it will expose,
you know, and what happened in this case is, I don't know, because I mean, this system is terrible. You know, people will frustrate this kind of process, and as you can see, the minister was angry, and that means there was a lot of frustration in the process of procurement. He said it.
In part two, after the break, another presidential aspirant, Sam Ohuabunwa, purchases nomination forms of the People's Democratic Party. Please stay with us. Welcome back. If you just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 live on Channels Television Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. Minister of Transportation assures Nigerians that repairs on the damaged portion of the rail tracks will commence soon as House of Representatives blast service chiefs over failure to honour summons. Travellers abandon rail transportation, revert to the roads out of fear of attacks by terrorists. More presidential aspirants as renowned banker Mohammed Hayatuddin and pharmacist Samuel Huabunwa purchase the nomination forms of the People's Democratic Party. And the Kremlin plays down any hopes of a breakthrough in peace talks with Ukraine as the war continues. It appears the federal government is taking the fight against drug trafficking to a new dimension as it has given approval for the purchase of eye-scanning lie detectors and night vision goggles for the Nigerian Drug Law Enforcement Agency. This was among the 6 memos approved today by the Federal Executive Council meeting presided over by the President, where members also observed a minute's silence for the victims of the Kaduna-Abuja train bomb attack. After the meeting, the Minister of Justice, Attorney General of the Federation, spoke to State House correspondents on the approved technical equipment for tackling illegal drug trade.
A memo seeking the approval of the Council for the award of contract for the supply of eye-scanning lie detector. Our technology has improved to the extent that we have in place technological equipment that have the capacity to detect whether you are indeed speaking the truth or indeed you are lying in the course of investigation. So for the purpose of enhancing the capacity of the NDLEA in exterminating illicit drugs trafficking, sales and consumption, the federal government has considered the need and possibility of indeed providing these equipments to NDLEA. The Federal Executive Council approved the award of contract for the supply of eye-scanning lie detector by the National Drugs Law Enforcement Agency in the sum of 498,850,000 naira only, inclusive of 7.5 VAT.
Let's go over to Abuja studios where Terry Kumi is standing by with more. Hi, Terry.
Hello, Millicent. Nice outfit. Let's switch gears to politics now. The newly elected chairman of the All Progressives Congress, Senator Abdullahi Adamu, has officially taken over the leadership of the party. Speaking at the handover ceremony held at the party's headquarters in Abuja, Mr. Adamu says the new National Working Committee under his leadership will work in harmony to ensure the victory of the APC at the 2023 general election. On his part, the former chairman of the Caretaker Committee urged the new NWC to sustain the objectives of the party.
We have a major event that is going not only to test the waters, but to see how stable that water will be after that event. That is the general elections. For me, and by the time we start working, our main point of call is how we handle the election as a party. How we win the election in 2023. People are talking about, oh, the APC will not have an incumbent on the ticket. We will have the honor, the integrity, the legacy of the current president on our ticket.
We have done our best from the registration to the congresses at the wards, local governments, states, and up to the convention. But that cannot be without problems here and there. but by and large, we have succeeded. We can say we have recorded 70% success.
Staying with politics, more aspirants have collected the expression of interest and nomination forms to contest in the primaries of the People's Democratic Party, PDP. The 10th person to do so is Mr. Mohammed Hayatuddin, a former managing director at FSB International Bank PLC, who paid the mandatory sum of 5 million naira for expression of interest and 35 million naira for the nomination form. Our correspondent Delio Moyeni reports.
Mr. Muhammad Hayatuddin arrives at the PDP Secretariat in Abuja. A former managing director at FSB International Bank PLC, Mr. Hayatuddin has thrown his heart into the race for the presidential ticket. He's here at the PDP Secretariat to purchase the presidential nomination and expression of interest forms.
Power to the people. Let us recognize the sovereignty.
The party's national organizing secretary confirms that Mr. Hayatuddin has fulfilled all the conditions required to purchase the forms.
On behalf of the National Working Committee, we will confirm and verify that you have paid this requisite fees of 5 million naira for the expression of interest form and 35 million naira for the nomination form.
The presidential aspirant receives the forms. Afterwards, he asks those in attendance at the ceremony to observe a minute's silence in honor of those killed during Monday's terrorist attack on a Kaduna-bound train.
May their souls rest in perfect peace.
Speaking to journalists after the ceremony, Mr. Hayatuddin says he is more concerned about the competence and character of whoever emerges as president of Nigeria and not the part of the country the candidate hails from.
As far as I'm concerned, the issues that face this country are real, are deep, they are profound. Mohammed Hayatuddin does not care who governs this country. What is more important to me is, does this person have what it takes in terms of his personality, his character? Is he knowledgeable about the kind of issues, structural and operational issues confronted in this country?
Mr. Hayatuddin also promises to heal the wounds and unite the country if elected president, noting that Nigeria is unfortunately deeply fractured along ethnic and religious lines. Delia Moyeni, Channels Television News.
Meanwhile, renowned pharmacist and former chairman of the Nigerian Economic Summit Group, Mr. Sam Ohuabunwa, has condemned the rising cases of insecurity as well as what he describes as the poor state of the nation's economy. Mr. Ohuabunwa was speaking shortly after picking his expression of interest form in Abuja. He wants total rejigging of the nation's security apparatus. He also listed areas of interest he hopes to focus on if elected president in 2023.
Once again, the headquarters of the People's Democratic Party in Abuja comes alive as members of the party seeking various elective positions in the 2023 general elections continue to pick their nomination forms. The latest visitor to the party's office is Mr. Sam Ohuabunwa, who is seeking to run as president in 2023. He makes his way to the office of the organizing secretary to purchase his form. Back at the conference room, he is presented with the expression of interest form. Top on his mind is the state of insecurity and the nation's economy.
Unprecedented insecurity stalks the land, and citizens' lives are the daily mercy of all manner of criminals across the country. Our economy gets more downgraded and distressed, with falling naira value, hyperinflation, disinvestment, industrial unrest, and endless borrowings are some of the symptoms. Mr. Chairman, mass poverty has become the order of the day in Nigeria, as millions of Nigerians lack jobs and opportunities to earn a decent living, not to talk of attaining self-actualization of potential and dreams. Corruption in the public sector has worsened, under the current federal government, despite their so-called anti-corruption war.
Mr. Nwambua explains how he intends to tackle the challenges if elected president.
Our focus is to turn Nigeria into an investment heaven, where there will be foreign investment and local investment will be promoted by a combination of a strong foreign investment inflow and local investment motivation. We will create businesses, we'll create programs, we'll create projects, because investments create businesses, create programs, and create projects. These programs, projects, and businesses will create jobs. Jobs will create wealth, and wealth will drive away poverty.
Mr. Nwambua is the 11th aspirant to pick the expression of interest form for the presidential ticket under the flagship of the PDP.
Still ahead on the news at 10, New Nigeria People's Party holds national convention. Plus, House of Representatives discovers 300 billion naira funds from 4 commercial banks, which is part of the 1.3 trillion naira unclaimed funds being investigated. That's in business news. Stay with us. Welcome back to the news at 10. We're staying with politics. With the 2023 general elections drawing closer, political parties continue the process of putting their houses in order. One of such parties is the New Nigeria People's Party, which has held its convention in the nation's capital, Abuja. National leader of the party and former governor of Kano State, Malam Rabiu Kwankwaso, asked Nigerians to give it a chance to lead the country out of its current state.
Hundreds of supporters of the New Nigeria People's Party gather in the nation's capital, Abuja, for the national convention. They're here to take stock of the party's activities with the aim of putting it on the right footing ahead of the general elections come 2023.
NNPP! New Nigeria!
The National Secretary of the NNPP, Victor Olayokun, sets the tone for the convention with a call for the amendment of some sections of the party's constitution.
I want to announce that today again, we are going to amend some sections of our constitutions to meet today's needs of our party and of Nigerians. I will.
The event progresses with the amendment and the swearing in of new officials of the party. The highlight of the event is the address of the national leader, who calls on Nigerians to give the new party an opportunity to lead the country out of its current challenges.
Many people call us third force. And let me assure you, it's just a matter of few months. This third force, by the grace of God, will be #1 force in this country.
He also asks party faithful to return to their states and recruit new members to the fold.
This chapter is completed. What we have to do is to go back to our own states, our local governments, and what? And sure, not only we register ourselves and our families, but you have to tell each and every Nigerian to register with NNPP.
With the political space set to open in the coming days, the NNPP surely has its work cut out for it, especially as it plans to gain more foothold nationwide.
Well, that's all from the nation's capital. Back to you, Millicent.
Thanks, Derry. You're done with the political news. I continue here with some company news. Now, Nigeria's largest container terminal, APM Terminals, Apapa, has commissioned a new digitalized administrative building as part of its $438 million investment in port development in Nigeria. Speaking at the event, the Global Chief Operating Officer of APM Terminals, Keith Svinson, who was in Nigeria for the commissioning, said the new building will set a new standard for port operations in the country.
It's the dawn of a new era in ports operation in Nigeria as the largest container terminal, APM Terminals, holds a grand opening ceremony of its new digitalized administrative building.
You are welcome to...
Gathered here are security operatives, chief executives of ship and lines, port regulators, and partners of APM terminals.
Today we inaugurate our new office, and that is a milestone in our transformation. When we as APM terminals come to a place like Apapa, we actually want to bring the same international standards as we do to any other facility.
The administrative building of APM terminal.
The managing director of the Nigerian Ports Authority, Mohammed Bello Koko, represented by Ayoduro Waye, commends APM terminals for raising the standards of port operation in Nigeria.
We believe that the collaboration between the authority and you, APM team, will strengthen the possibilities for Nigerian exporters, and it is something that we are focused on, and we want to push even further in terms of numbers and possibilities.
On with the speeches, they officially launched the building and then take a quick tour. The APM Terminal's Global Chief Operating Officer, Keith Svensson, says the technology embedded in the new building will improve container handling operations and processing.
There's two types of technologies we'll see here. One is how we process the containers. So some of the customers today mentioned how their invoicing is happening, how they can do their documentation. So we basically want that to be all digitized and easy for people to do by themselves rather than humans being involved, which will slow it down.
Over the past 15, 16 years, we have invested $438 million. $438 million is invested across everything. That means in superstructure and infrastructure, in cranes, in RTGs, in trucks, and in IT, in intelligence. This is the enabler for doing our business. We are in heavy lifts, and we have to lift, and that needs equipment. The trick is not to lift, the trick is to do it many times efficiently, safely, and fast.
The terminal has continued to introduce new innovations to help both shipping lines and landside customers achieve improved supply chain efficiency and flexibility in a cost-effective manner.
The World Savings and Retail Banking Institute and International Banking Association has reiterated the importance of inclusive financial services for Nigerians as a way to promote economic growth. The organization stated this at the Scale to Save knowledge-sharing event attended by key financial stakeholders across the country.
Majority of Nigerians.
These financial service providers are here to share ideas on the importance of savings as the backbone for greater customer resilience.
The data that you're going to use in making your policies.
Setting the tone for the session, Director of Skill to Save Initiative, Weselina Angelo, explains their commitment to the program.
We all want to add value to people's lives. So in 2016, Scale to Save was born. Scale to Save stands for micro savings for maximum impact. Scale to Save also means that we wanted to continue helping financial service providers to scale viable business models for reaching out to small balance savers. And at the same time, we wanted to allow low-income people to save conveniently.
Head of the CBN's Financial Inclusion Secretariat, Dr. Paul Oluikwe, highlights the importance for providers to target specific customer needs.
My question in terms of financial inclusion is oftentimes, is the informal sector feeling a need? Are they meeting or feeling a need that somebody else is really not meeting? As a regulator, I'm interested in bringing everybody into the formal sector, right? And I want to ensure that the underlying interest in that is to try and capture this information for monetary policy and try to plan for the economy, and that is really good.
Stakeholders believe there's still a long way to go to attain a satisfactory level of financial inclusion.
The issue is this: savings is actually the first step to financial inclusion. And so even for us as policymakers to have our data in terms of the efficiency of policies being made at the CBN or for any policymakers, it starts with having the right data to use.
Through the intervention of Skill to Save, financial service provider partners continue to innovate products and services.
We've seen two very dynamic projects coming into the country, one focusing on agro-value chain digitization
with FCMB, and another one focusing on what I may call intergenerational motivations to drive savings. So the My Pikin and I, which we have done in collaboration with the Lapo Microfinance Bank.
The Skill to Save program aims to continue to drive the message of financial inclusivity while engaging with key stakeholders in target countries to actualize their objective.
Taniola Shabawale has some business stories. Here she is.
Banking, so easy, so simple. Dial *894# now to experience it. You first, First Bank.
Thanks a lot, Millicent. Welcome to Business News. The House of Representatives Ad hoc Committee on Unclaimed 1.3 trillion naira federal government funds says it has discovered 300 billion naira hanging in 4 banks. Chairman of the committee, and he made them state this after an investigative hearing with some of the MDAs in commercial banks. The committee is also threatening to issue a warrant of arrest on MDs of banks, as well as the heads of the MDAs who have still refused to appear before it.
So far, we have discovered about almost 300 billion as at yesterday, but we are still scrutinizing the documents submitted so far, and I'm quite sure by the time we are done with this assignment, we might exceed the target given to us by the leadership of the House of Representatives. And let me also use this opportunity to reiterate here that those banks, those commercial banks that have not shown appearance since yesterday that we commenced this public hearing, and they have not submitted their documents, by virtue of our powers as the Parliament, if we expect, I think we are expecting them by tomorrow and Tuesday, those that have not submitted. If they default on those days, and MDAs as well, if they default on bringing those documents, submission and appearance, we don't have a choice than to invoke our powers as the Parliament and then sanction them accordingly.
CIG Motors, the exclusive distributor of the award-winning GAC brand, is in partnership with Polaris Bank to make vehicle acquisition and ownership affordable to Nigerians by its Easy Buy scheme. The auto giant and the bank announced the scheme during the signing of a memorandum of understanding in Lagos. The partnership comes with improved incentives that will give customers the opportunity to acquire affordable brand-new vehicles.
Models of the GAC brand of cars line the showroom in Lagos. These models are the new bride in a partnership between CIG Motors, the exclusive distributor of the award-winning brand, and Polaris Bank, tagged Easy Buy scheme, one encouraging Nigerians to buy new cars.
It's an affordable vehicle finance scheme. We believe that the scheme will offer the most valuable and seamless vehicle acquisition scheme that is going to be available in this country. And we're proud of what we've been able to put together with CIG Motors.
The Easy Buy scheme is not just targeting current customers, but also prospective ones who meet the criteria. And it's come with a mouth-watering offer.
Equity contribution is 0, and interest rate is 0 for the first 12 months. For the first 12 months or 6 months, depending on the model of the vehicle that customer is purchasing. This vehicle comes with 5 years warranty. 5 years. It's the first time I'm seeing this.
Then partners sealed the deal with a memorandum of understanding. For the chairman of CIG Motors, this is a scheme that breaks the second-hand car mentality.
We are ready to deliver what the people need. We work so hard to bring this partnership into active. Not ask people buy the new car again. So we build the market together, we build the economy together, we build the confidence together.
The two organizations explained that the Easy Buy scheme has a convenient monthly repayment tenure of up to 60 months. Customers will enjoy, in addition, a free comprehensive insurance for the first year, free vehicle registration, and 5 years warranty.
Let's check in on the stock market now. Will Ibong has the details.
Hello and welcome to the Stock Market Report. Stocks staged a mild rebound today after 2 negative sessions this week. Let's look at stocks behind this market turnaround. Some names stood out from the pack. Market giants MTN Nigeria and Corn Oil weighed in on today's trading session, helping the market to reverse some losses and advancing the all-share index by 0.13%, while adding 33 billion naira to the market cap. The oil and gas sector took the spotlight in today's session as the gains in Adova, Corn Oil and Etherna pushed the index to close in positive territory. However, negative sentiments rubbed off on the banking index as 4 out of the Fugas, that's the Tier 1 banks, were in the red at the close of the bell, with Zenith Bank recording 3 straight days of losses. As usual, we've got the gainers and losers. We've got the charts to show why the markets can be so versatile. We hope stocks stage another strong day tomorrow. But is it too early to dive back into the high flyers? Tomorrow will tell. And that's the Stock Market Report. I'm Will Ibong. Back to you.
Thanks a lot, Will. Well, it's a different picture for major stock markets across Europe and the United States. Let's take a look at the closing figures. That's Business News tonight. It's back to Millicent for the rest of the news at 10.
Banking, so easy, so simple. Dial star 894 hash now to experience it. You first, First Bank.
Thanks, Teniola. Now, as the war in Ukraine enters its 5th week, Russia says it has not noticed anything promising or that looks like a breakthrough in peace talks with Ukraine. Meanwhile, Ukrainian officials say Russian attacks have not eased near Kyiv and in Chernihiv, despite a promise by Moscow during negotiations to scale back its offensive. Simon Pusey has more on this and other international news and around the world in 5.
Good evening and welcome to the Channel Studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov has been briefing the media on the talks held with Ukraine and Turkey yesterday and played down any hopes of a breakthrough. It comes a day after Russia said it intended to scale back its military activity in Kyiv and Chernihiv, and Ukraine said it would consider becoming a neutral state.
We received yesterday information. Right now the Russian forces move away from Kyiv. It's not true. Whole night.
In spite of this, the mayor of Kiev, Vitaly Klitschko, said the sound of shelling could be heard around the capital despite Moscow's promise. In an address to the European Committee of the Regions, the former heavyweight boxing champion said battles were taking place near his city. And the governor of Chernihiv region, Vyacheslav Chaus, says there was no let-up in strikes overnight. Russian shelling has damaged a Holocaust memorial on the outskirts of the eastern Ukrainian city of Kharkiv. The monument, in the form of a giant menorah, a 7-branched candelabra, had lost 2 of its branches. An engraving on a stone pillar near the damaged memorial says it pays tribute to more than 16,000 people from the Kharkov Jewish ghetto who were killed by the Nazis from December 1941 to January 1942. Germany has declared an early warning over possible gas supply disruptions amid a payment standoff with Russia. Russia has demanded unfriendly countries pay for its gas in rubles from the end of March, but the EU, which pays in euros, has rejected the idea. Moscow later appeared to soften its stance, saying on Wednesday ruble payments would be introduced gradually. But Germany has urged consumers and companies to reduce consumption in anticipation of possible shortages. Mourners have paid tribute to 5 people shot and killed by a Palestinian gunman in a suburb of the Israeli city of Tel Aviv in the 3rd deadly attack of its kind in a week. It happened at Bnei Brak, one of the country's most populous ultra-Orthodox Jewish areas. The gunman was shot dead by police at the scene. Israeli security forces were on high alert after attacks by Israeli Arabs last Tuesday and Sunday, which left 6 people dead. Israel's Prime Minister Naftali Bennett said the country was currently dealing with a new wave of terrorism. The parents of 43 Mexican students who disappeared in 2014 have reacted with outrage following a report that revealed Mexico's armed forces knew that the student teachers were being kidnapped. Relatives of those kidnapped by the criminals gathered for a press conference after the findings showed the army hid evidence that could have helped locate them. They were under surveillance because their college, which has strong ties to left-wing social movements in Mexico, was viewed as a potential hotbed of subversion. Students' relatives also asked Mexico's government to investigate the former president Enrique Peña Nieto's involvement in the case. Thousands of people have been driven from their homes in the Democratic Republic of Congo after the M23 rebel group attacked army positions near the border with Uganda and Rwanda. Heavy fighting started on Sunday night, and by Tuesday the rebels had moved into the city of Kabindi and were nearing the area's local administrative seat, the town of Rutshuru. Uganda's Red Cross said on Tuesday that some 6,000 refugees had crossed into Uganda from 6 villages near the border. A new front in Ethiopia's war in the Afar region is hampering peace talks, that's according to 3 regional officials. The flare-up of violence in Afar this year came after fighting in the neighbouring regions of Tigray and Amhara, with peace talks grounding to a stalemate as moves were gathering pace to get the government in Addis Ababa and Tigrayan rebels to agree to peace negotiations. The TPLF and Afar forces dispute who started the most recent round of fighting in the northeastern region, which flared up in mid-January. And South Korea's military says it has successfully test-fired a solid-fuel space rocket for the first time. The launch is the first such test since South Korea and the United States agreed last year to end decades of restrictions on the South's ballistic missile and rocket development, and comes less than a week after North Korea conducted its highest missile test yet. It's a step, it says, that will help to eventually launch a constellation of satellites to better monitor threats from North Korea. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the Channel Studios in Lagos.
Thank you, Simon, and welcome to Sports News. Fans from different nations gathered in Doha earlier today as the flags of recently qualified teams for the FIFA 2022 World Cup were raised at a ceremony. Doha got an early taste of the fervent World Cup atmospheres that can be expected during the tournament, as flags including that of Morocco, Ecuador, Tunisia, Portugal and Ghana were all raised following qualification. Qatar will host the draw this Friday, the last major milestone before the 5-week tournament begins in November.
Look, I think a lot of fans, especially that live in the Northern Hemisphere, are going to be excited that they can leave their cold countries to come here, enjoy the weather, go to the beaches, enjoy the food here, enjoy the different cultural attractions, the nightlife. It's going to be a special World Cup, and you know we look forward to welcoming the fans here.
Meanwhile, FIFA President Gianni Infantino believes the Qatar 2022 World Cup is an opportunity to bring people together after the COVID-19 pandemic and war in Europe. Mr. Infantino says that everybody would be welcome at the tournament and believes it was right that it was taking place in the European winter, as it offers teams the best condition in Qatar.
Well, sport and football can indeed try to unite a little bit the people. I mean, Mandela was saying that sport has the power to change the world, right? I don't know if this is the case, but if somebody like Mandela said something like that, well, maybe it has something. And the fact that we are coming out of a pandemic where we have been locking ourselves down, where we are at this moment in a situation where there is a war in Europe, terrible, and conflicts as well in other parts of the world. We shouldn't forget that either.
Back home in the Nigeria Women Football League Premiership games played this evening, Niger Rattles beat Confluence Queen 2-1 in a match day 13 clash. Sunshine Queens edged Royal Queens by a lone goal. Delta Queens and Bayelsa Queens all recorded home victories in today's fixture. That sports news is back to you, Millicent.
Thank you, Chris. And the main news again. The Minister of Transportation, Rotimi Amechi, today assured Nigerians that repair works on the damaged portions of the rail tracks will commence soon, just as the House of Representatives slammed service chiefs over their failure to honour its summons to discuss the attacks in Kaduna. Also today, travellers abandoned the Abuja-Kaduna rail route and returned to the roads out of fear of being attacked by terrorists. That's news at 10 tonight. Thank you for watching. I'm Melissa Walker. Have a good night and stay safe.